Hi, a very good evening to all the participants here. On behalf of Inflow, I would like to welcome you all to the College Talk series that is conducted and promoted by Inflow. The entire aim of the College Talk series is to educate high school students about the college admissions process. And to assist us with that, Mansi Kaushik, who is an freshman at UCLA and who's on a pre-med track. Hi, Mansi. Thanks for being here. Um,
Uh,
and
yeah, thank you for having
they
me. Sorry.
Yeah. So just some guidelines before we start the meeting to all the participants here. Please turn your microphones off and your videos too. Um, and please direct your questions on the chat. We'll be having question and answer sessions, and I'll be moderating these questions, and I'll direct them to Mansi on behalf of you. Okay. So Mansi, let's begin.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
so hi everyone. My name is Mansi Kaushik, as Harthik mentioned, and I'm also an incoming freshman at UCLA. I am planning to double major in human biology and society and economics for now, and hopefully I'm gonna be on the pre-med track and so I'm gonna be applying to medical school after 4 years. So if you have any questions about that, definitely let me know. And yeah, today we're just gonna be talking about how I got into UCLA, my entire journey, my stats, extracurriculars, just why I chose UCLA. And yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. Yeah, so oh, let's start with some fun facts and just general fun stuff about UCLA to let you all know about UCLA. So as you guys know, UCLA is like a premier research institute. It's in the top 20 universities of the nation. The first fun fact I have for you guys is that the internet actually started at UCLA. The first transmission, it was sent from UCLA to Stanford, and it was supposed to be like done, but they only send like instead of DONE, they only send DON, and so yeah, then the entire computer thing crashed. But yeah, that's really cool. So all you CS people, the internet started at UCLA. So the second fun fact I have for you guys is that UCLA receives the most college applications than any university in the entire nation, and the number keeps increasing. On my acceptance letter, they said that we were the largest like applicant pool in the history of UCLA. So don't let that intimidate you, but just a cool fact about UCLA. The third one is that, as you guys know, UCLA is in the heart of LA. It's in Westwood. So naturally, a lot of movies have been shot here. If you guys know Legally Blonde, they claim that the UCLA campus is Harvard in the movie, but it's actually just UCLA. Forrest Gump, Tom Hanks' movie, was also shot at UCLA. And the Bollywood movie, My Name is Khan, featuring Shah Rukh Khan and Kajol, was also shot at UCLA. So, and then the fourth one are our alumni. So we have some awesome alumni like James Franco, the actor, Russell Westbrook, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the famous basketball players, and then Ariel Winter, who plays Alex in what was that show? Modern Family. Yeah, and Shakira came to UCLA to attend a history class, and she came dressed up as a boy, so no one would recognize her. But yeah, so you're bound to see a lot of celebrities at UCLA, so I'm really excited for that if I ever go on campus and if Corona ever ends. But yeah, and then last but definitely not the least, and someone asked about this before, UCLA is the #1 public university. It's newly updated for 2021, and we are the #1 university. I'll get into why later, but yeah, some people are really salty about this, like Berkeley, but yes, we are rated higher than them. Okay, the next slide is my journey of getting into UCLA. So just a background, I moved from the Bay Area in California to India in Bangalore. So I graduated from Greenwood High International School this summer, and I moved here in 9th grade, hence the very thick American accent. But so I moved here, and as you guys know, the education system in America is super different. There's not that much emphasis on education. And so I really, really struggled with academics when I moved to India. And you guys know in India, it's just academics, study, padhai or whatever. Yes, I speak Hindi. But if I said that wrong, sorry, my Hindi accent is very bad. But anyways, I moved to India, and so my grades were not the best in ninth grade, and I was just basically trying to get accustomed to the program and the education system in India. So that's my first sort of part of my journey. And then my second main thing is that I started my own NGO, and this wasn't something I was like looking forward or set on doing. Like this sort of happened. I went on vacation with my parents, and I met a bunch of differently abled young adults there at the resort where I was staying at for the vacation. And I was talking to them and their parents said, you know what, they're above 18 years old and they don't have employment. So I started a small initiative that turned into a larger NGO to help these differently abled young adults get employment. And I'll elaborate on that further when I talk about my extracurriculars. Then I had my board exams, which I did okay, fairly well in, I don't know, but I'll elaborate on that later. And then I added activities along the way. I did an investment competition, I did internships, which I will get into later. And then in 11th grade, I sort of had this dilemma. I always sort of knew I was interested in biology and wanted to go like into the pre-med medical path. But in 9th and 10th grade, I took economics. I was super interested in it. And I was sort of unsure of what I wanted to pursue in the future. I was like, you know what, I want to do both. And so after doing tons of research, I was like, the perfect field that intersects both economics and biology is public health. So now I am pursuing public health. And even though UCLA doesn't have a major in public health specifically, it has this major called Human Biology and Society, which is basically another version of public health. So that's what I'm doing. And then after I figured out that I love public health, I made activities, and I found activities that use different fields and like interdisciplinary fields to further health. And yeah, that was my sort of journey into getting in. And if you guys are wondering why, if UCLA was always like my go-to school, I lived in the Bay Area, as I mentioned, right? So every Bay Area kid's dream is to get into either UC Berkeley, UCLA, or Stanford. Like those are the three dream schools because we grew up with those three big names, and so those are always in the back of my mind. But yeah, it's awesome to be going to UCLA, and yeah. Okay, moving on to my stats. So starting with my SAT score, I got a 1540 out of 1600. And I know that's a like good score, and I was really happy with it. But like, I'm not perfect. I took it 3 times, and my score improved. But yeah, so don't feel like you have to like obviously try to get a 1500 plus your first time. But I took it 3 times, and I wouldn't recommend taking it more than 3 times. But yeah, I was lucky that I got a good score at the end of it. So as for my GPA and classes and stuff, I did the IGCSE and IB board. And in 9th grade and 10th grade, I did the IGCSE. So in 9th grade, I got 1 A star, 3 A's, and 5 B's. Yes, you're seeing that correctly. I got 5 B's. As I mentioned, I moved from California to India. So in entire 9th grade, I was basically just struggling to get accustomed to the education system. And so I struggled a lot, so my grades sort of dipped. But in 10th grade, I improved that to 5 A stars, 2 A's, and 1 B, which was an art, so the B didn't really matter. But as you can see, I greatly improved my score. Then 11th and 12th grade, I did the IB board. So I got a 36 on 42, which is pretty average. Like, it's not that good, to be honest. Like, if you guys are doing the IB board and watching this, I would aim for 38 because that's like the perfect score to get you into like all the top universities, like even Ivy Leagues. Like, you don't have to get a 40 plus and stuff. Like, if you have a 38 and great extracurriculars, you'll be good to go. Just for like some context, a 38 is almost like a top 3%-ish score. But yeah, it's a really good score. And so I improved my score to a 38 in 12th grade. And so that was fun. And then my final IB score was a 41 on 45. which is great. And I ended up improving my score a lot. So as you can see, my GPA or my class or my scores improved from 9th to 12th grade. So I think your main goal when thinking about statistics in your college application is to either start off well and sustain that like good grade, or you know what, it's okay if you started off like pretty low or bad in 9th grade, you can always improve that, and colleges treat them equally. Like if you show improvement or if you sustain good grades, then they'll love you either way. So don't fret if you start off like bad or have a dip in your grades in the beginning. Oh yeah, so another thing I did want to talk about, which I didn't mention in the slides, are my SAT subject stats. So I took Math 2 and Chemistry for my SAT subject stats. I wasn't going to take them because none of my schools required them, including UCLA. UCLA only requires the subject stats if you are applying to the engineering school. And I know some of you expressed interest in the engineering school at UCLA. So if you are applying to the engineering school, you will need a Math 2 subject stat and 1 science subject stat, so either physics, chemistry, or bio. But yeah, I didn't need it because I was applying for bio. And so the only reason I took them was because I was like, you know what, I might as well just take them. If it turns out good, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And so I guess going in with that attitude was like a bad way to go into it. I didn't do well. I got like a 740 in Math 2 and everyone gets 800. And I got a 750 in chemistry, which is like pretty like bad. Like everyone gets like an 800. But I'm just, this is my way of telling you that you don't have to be that perfect person to get into these top schools. Obviously good scores help you, but you don't have to be that perfect person, and don't put that pressure on yourself because it's definitely not required. And if you show improvement, they will definitely see that. And if you have amazing extracurriculars, amazing essays, they will look past your maybe low stats. Yeah, 1 second. I'm just gonna drink some water. Okay. Yeah. So after stats, I have my initiatives and extracurriculars. So I had a lot of extracurriculars, but a lot of them were stuff I was very passionate about. Like a lot of people I see, like a lot of people reach out to me and ask me like, you know what, should I do research? Should I do MUNs? Should I start an NGO? Should I write a book or something? And like the problem with that is the answer is according to like your interest and whether you're interested in it, because you'll only pursue an activity and excel in it and like bring it to the next level if you are interested in the thing. So I don't recommend you guys just do like a checklist of things, like, you know, because I've talked to admissions counselors about this, and they say that almost every Indian student has their own NGO, has that MUN co-chair award thing. I don't know about MUN, so I don't know, but and every Indian student has like an 800 in their math SAT or whatever. So it's really hard to stand out if you do things just because, you know, you think you have to do them for college applications. So yeah, I tried to really stand out and do things that was of interest to me. So as I mentioned before, okay, I'm just gonna go through my things and then explain my like reasoning behind them later. So Mission Seva was the NGO I founded, which was what I talked about earlier. Basically in Mission Seva, we taught differently abled young adults how to make various products, and we also taught them skills like computing skills and stuff, and that allowed them to gain employment and earn them a basic income, and now they are able to sustain themselves. So yeah, that was my main idea, and I listed that under social justice. Yeah, and then my second activity was research. It was not in the hard sciences. I did film and health research, so film and public health research. Basically what I did in this was I showed 2 films. I don't know if you guys watch Bollywood movies, but there are 2 Bollywood movies. One is called Padman and another is called Toilet. And they're supposed to be like for entertainment purposes, but they also have like they talk about very, very important public health matters like bathroom sanitation and menstruation. And so what I did was I wanted to see if those movies would have an impact on consumer behavior. So what I did was I showed those two movies to various villagers in different villages in Bangalore and Rajasthan. And like with the context of local shop owners and local business owners, I basically tested and investigated whether showing them the movies and using like the techniques of film and narrative techniques would have an effect on them and would have an effect on whether they would consume more, bathroom sanitation equipment or sanitary pads in terms of women. So that was my main research project. As you can see, it was not the basic lab research. It wasn't the basic, oh yeah, you have a scientific question and you have materials procedure. It was very different, and I think that's what really helped me stand out, but I'll get into that later. My third activity was that I was a political advocate. The background behind this is that my grandma is a local politician in Ajmer, Rajasthan, and I would go with her on political debates, and I would just like observe and stuff, sit in the back row and stuff, just for fun. But one time this man, he was like talking, he wanted to say something about like the amount of GDP being allocated to public health, and the local MLA would not let him speak. So what I did was I interviewed like over 500 citizens in Ajmer, and I advocated their like local health concerns to the MLA. And yeah, that was another one of my main activities. Yeah. And then the fourth activity I had was a media project. It was basically a video I made, and this is a pun. It's like need to know about your. Oh, it's actually okay. I got this wrong for some reason. Oh my god. Yeah, for some reason I typed this wrong, but it's actually need to know about your knee, and so it was a pun. But basically I shot a video where I interviewed a bunch of senior citizens and talked about the consequences of the wrong information presented on different media platforms regarding the knee. And yeah, so, and then the next activities was I had like 3 internships in a hospital setting. One was at a clinic, 2 of them were at hospitals. One of them was at the Sakra World Hospital in Bangalore, if you guys know what that is. But yeah, so those, I sort of lumped those together because they were just similar, like what I did and stuff. Okay, yeah, and then my 6th activity? Sixth activity was volleyball. I think it's really important to have non-academic things on your activities list, because like admissions officers can see when you're trying to like fake your activities or like try to like fluff it up and stuff. So I had volleyball. I basically started technically my own team at my high school, and there were no volleyball teams. There were no volleyball courts. And so basically I started a campaign to build a court, get a coach. And now I was successful with that, and I got a coach and a court at my high school. So we went to like a few tournaments and stuff, and that was my main sport, non-academic thing. Then I went to an investment competition. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's called Knowledge at Wharton High School, and it's KWHS. Basically, you like create a portfolio for a fake client, and you basically present it in a final review sort of investment portfolio thing. And then if that passes the bar, then you get to present it to business owners at the National Stock Exchange in Bangalore. So my team actually qualified for that, and we went to the nationals at the National Stock Exchange in Mumbai. So that was really fun. That was a really nice bonding event for me and my friends. So yeah, highly, highly recommend if you guys are interested in economics, business, stocks, check that out. It's called Knowledge at Wharton High School. It's an investment competition. And then my second last activity was I was part of the student council in my school. We held various events. We had like a school fair called Ignite, and I was like event head for 2 of the events. So I just mentioned that. And then my last activity was actually in a competition. It's called World Scholars Cup, and I was named a top 50 debater in the global round at Greece. So yeah, I just mentioned that as well. Okay, I'm not used to talking so much. Okay, so why I think I stood out, you guys probably are thinking that, like, you know, these aren't like very normal activities. Like, I had pretty weird and eccentric activities, but I think that's why I really stood out. I tried to build a application theme or spike, and this is what you guys should do as well. It's just, a spike is basically something that connects your extracurriculars, your essays, the classes you take, and your interests all into one sort of thing. So mine was innovation and public health, and basically I use different fields to further health of my community and beyond. And so as you can see in my activities list, in research, I combined film and health, and when I was a political advocate, I combined politics and health. Then again, I combined media and health in this. And then my Mission Seva basically combined like that whole idea of you know, employment and their interests, because I use their interests in art and computing to provide them unemployment and improve their productivity. So yeah, that was my whole sort of theme and application spike. And this is super important in applications these days, because there's so many applications, especially with like UC schools. If you're targeting them, they're so huge. Like, there's so many applications, and you really have to find a way to stand out. And so I think it's really helpful if you find an application spike or a theme, something that makes you stand out. Maybe it's your unique perspective or your unique ideas, interests. But yeah, that's why I think I stood out. The next thing is, okay. Was there anything I wanted to, one second, I'm just gonna think if there's anything else I wanted to say. Yeah, feel free to ask any questions if you have about the application spike, because it's kind of confusing. But yeah, I think I also weaved my entirety with my application spike. So I moved from America to India, right? And I was always interested in biology, but when I moved to India, I was interested in economics. And so that move and that sort of dual culture of mine led me to my new interest, which is public health. So I think it's really important to use your own experiences and your own you know, events in your life to talk about your intellectual and academic interests, because that makes it sound more real and relatable to the admissions officers. But yeah, that's something I want to mention. Yeah, I think we can move on. Okay. Okay. So a lot of people have asked me this, and I'm gonna start from like CMU, Carnegie Mellon University. So Carnegie Mellon University is in Pittsburgh, and I told you guys, like, I moved from America to India, and I moved from California specifically. So I knew I wanted to go back to California. So that was one of the main reasons CMU was sort of out. Another reason was the cost. CMU is really expensive, and they didn't give me any financial aid. So yeah, that was like pretty much out. And like, it's more of a tech school, tech and like art school, and I was doing pre-med. And even though their economics program is awesome, like, I needed a school that was strong in economics and biology and the biological sciences. So yeah. And then Emory is amazing for health, and I'm sure you guys have heard of the Emory University School of Medicine. But yeah, it was just too far for me. Like, I was like, you know what, there's no point in, like, I don't know, I just wouldn't be happy there. Like, I don't know, it was just, first of all, it's a really small school, and I wanted a school with, you know, a nice football team, a nice social scene, nice with like good, you know, like nice campus culture with like a nice city. And I know Atlanta is really nice, but Emory is a small, like, it's a small liberal arts. It's not a liberal arts college, but like, it's pretty small, and it doesn't have like, you know, the sports teams, and you don't get the entire experience that I was looking for in terms of like, you know, sports and clubs and stuff. I mean, you do, but like not as much as you would get in a big public university like USC or UCLA. So yeah, Emory was basically out because of distance, and I didn't think I was a good fit in terms of campus culture. USC. So USC, I love that school. I still love that school. It's a really good school. But if you guys are interested in USC, like, I don't want to offend any of you, but they're so expensive. Like they're such a, I don't want to say rip off, but like they're really like 80K per year is like, I don't know, like I just couldn't let myself pay 80K a year. And so that was a huge factor. It had all of my like interests, like it had a good economics business program, it had a good a biology program, but I just couldn't let myself pay that much. And if you compare USC and UCLA, like there's not that much difference. I would say UCLA is higher, highly higher ranked. Is that the phrase? I can't speak, but UCLA is like higher ranked than USC. So I was like, you know what, less money, more prestige, I would rather pick UCLA. So USC was out, and then UC Berkeley. So in terms of tuition, my family is planning to move back to California, and so we would qualify for in-state tuition second for in my sophomore, junior, and senior year. So that in-state tuition was like a steal. Like it's a really good deal because it goes from 66K to 30-ish K, like almost half. And so UCLA and UC Berkeley were my top choices. But in the end, I chose UCLA because number one, UC Berkeley, it's highly ranked, but I think, in my opinion, what the research I have done, UC Berkeley is highly ranked because of its graduate programs rather than its undergraduate programs. A lot of the professors don't really interact with the students. Like everyone who I've talked to said they've never met their professors, like ever, only because the professors like teach the class, but then like they're sort of like just there to teach and then research. Like they leave. They're very like self-obsessed, I would say. Like from what I've heard from people I've talked to, they say that I've never interacted with my professors. I've only interacted with graduate students and PhD students because they're the ones who lead the smaller discussions. And so I didn't want that personally, because when you're applying to medical school or grad school in general, you need those letter recommendations, you need those research opportunities, which are provided by the professors you interact with. And so that was one of the main reasons. Another reason was, I don't know if this plays a huge role, but like the competitiveness, it played a huge role for me. I've heard that UC Berkeley is very competitive in terms of the student life and in terms of the way they structure their classes. UC Berkeley has this thing called grade deflation, wherein they like basically everything's graded on a curve, and so there's only a certain amount of people who can get A's in the classes. And I needed like the good grades to apply to medical school in the future, so that was like a huge no for me. Another reason was just the culture, like because of the grade deflation and that only a few people get A's, are allowed to get A's. There's a lot of competitiveness in the culture of the school as well. Like this is like, I don't know if this story is true, but I've heard this where students give each other the wrong notes in order for like the other people to fail so that they would get better grades and those other people would get lower grades, just because of that whole grade inflation thing. And so I don't know, I just personally did not like that environment. And so that was out. UC Berkeley did have that addition though, the advantage that it was close to home, but UCLA is like around 5 hours from my house. And so it's not that bad. I was still getting state tuition. And UCLA, still, like I had that, football team, basketball teams, I had that awesome campus, I had the awesome food, I had the guaranteed housing. Another thing I forgot to mention, UC Berkeley does not have guaranteed housing. They only have housing for 1 year for first year students. And so that was something that was just like I didn't really like. And so UCLA guarantees 3 years of housing, so that was another plus. And then obviously, like everyone knows, the UCLA School of Medicine is like the most amazing one. It's like the top ranked, the Ronald Reagan Hospital is like the top ranked hospital in California. And so having access to that at UCLA on the campus itself as a pre-med is so rewarding. And I think it's going to be really like nice to have that whole medical atmosphere for like to motivate me to apply to medical school. And I have already so many mentors at UCLA who are helping me with the process and walking me through it. Like literally the moment I hit click like to commit to UCLA, I was welcomed with like so many like such a why that took me so long to say, but like such a big support system. Like I already have like 4 designated mentors, and I recently finished my first quarter at UCLA, and I was directly interacting with my professors, even though the class size for my bio class was like 120 students and 1 teacher. The professor held like individual midterm sessions where he would talk to his students about what they can improve in each midterm and each final. And so it was really nice. And yeah, I think I definitely made the right choice in terms of picking colleges. But yeah, that is it in a nutshell. If you have any more questions, you can put it in the question Q&A box thing.
Okay, thanks a lot, Mansi, for that insightful information on UCLA. So now we'll be moving into the question answer sessions, and as you can, so right now the floor is open to questions. However, there are some pretty similar questions, so we don't mind if I bundle them together. We have a few questions, starting with so Mansi, how do they evaluate a student beyond the SAT and the grades? What would you recommend to students who have weak extracurriculars?
Okay, so beyond SAT and grades, so UCLA, like all schools in California, follow the holistic admissions process where SAT and grades are just one part of your application. So it's SAT and grades, then they have another section for your extracurriculars and initiatives. So they look at what things you're interested in. Then another thing is your essays. They really, really care about your essays. The UC essays are different. They're not like the Common App. You have to write, instead of writing like one huge Common App essay, you have 4 UC essays, and each are 350 words. So they also look at the essays. They really care about those. Another thing is just your circumstances in general. For me, they would have looked at the fact that I moved from America to India. So they really take into account your personal circumstances. If you have certain like financial extenuating circumstances, they'll definitely take that into account. And if you had like a certain like adverse if circumstance that led to bad grades in a certain year, they would definitely look at that. So yeah, it's a very holistic process. They're also very open to any additions to your applications. They have like additional information section where they can let you know what, you can let them know, I had this, which affected this. And if you have any questions, you can directly email them. Another resource I wanted to point you guys to is that if you follow UCLA admission on Instagram, having like something Wednesdays where each Wednesday they cover like a new part of their application process, and they give you like insider tips and stuff, like the admissions officers at UCLA. So if you guys have an Instagram account, definitely go check that out. It's UCLA admissions, and that's really helpful. What was the second question, sorry? The week.
What would you recommend to students who have weak extracurriculars?
First of all, it depends on what grade you're in. If you are in 11th grade, you have time to make start another activity. Highly recommend not starting like a full-blown NGO or something like that. But I think you definitely have time to improve if you are in 9th, 10th, or 11th grade. If you're in 12th grade, no reason to hesitate. I think at that point, you really have to like hone in on your theme and your unique perspective. Like I mentioned in the previous slide, my unique perspective and my unique theme was the innovation and public health. And even though I showed that through my extracurriculars, you can show it in a different way. For example, your theme could be just like intersecting like volleyball and like physics. And you could talk about how you were like a volleyball champion and or like a basketball champion or whatever, and you really like physics. And even though you don't have any like main extracurricular to show that, you can like talk about it in your essays and really try to show that theme and application spike, because there's no limitation in such that you have to have an extracurricular to like directly show your theme or application spike. I think the best advice I have to like put that and sum it up, I think the best advice for anyone who has weak extracurriculars is to build a theme, find that unique perspective you have, find that your unique interests, your unique ideas, and try to build a nice theme around it, something that makes you stand out. And even if you don't have the extracurriculars, even if you have like one extracurricular in basketball and like your interest is in like physics, as I said, try to like intersect those two, try to find a unique perspective. Even if you're not intersecting them, try to find something that'll help you stand out. But yeah, that's my best advice, and that'll definitely work if you have weak extracurriculars.
I would like to voice the concerns of, in fact, um, many students, not concerns exactly, but you know how Indian parents usually consider Berkeley to be like more prestigious compared to UCLA, and how that has changed over the past 5 years. So I have a question um, regarding why was UCLA placed over Berkeley, and would you like to touch upon why UCLA is probably better than Berkeley?
So I do think Berkeley has that whole prestige factor. Wait, sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it said my internet connection was unstable, so I was just checking. So when I went to Berkeley, my parents were all about Berkeley as well. They were like, you know what, you're gonna go to Berkeley. They were so happy. They were like, I can give you food every day. They were really happy because I used to live in the Bay Area. Parents are gonna move back. They were really happy about that. But I think you have to really figure out what's best for you. Personally, as I mentioned, Berkeley is very highly ranked because of its graduate programs. Its School of Public Health is #1. It's like School of Business is like one of the top 3. But I think for undergraduates, and it also depends on your like field. For undergraduates in biology, for example, UCLA is the better option because you have more access to professors. I think actually I don't want to go like into the specifics of the situation. I want to talk about it more generally. It depends on what you're pursuing. If you got into the computer science program, the electrical engineering computer science of Berkeley, I would highly recommend going there rather than UCLA because Berkeley, that's definitive. Berkeley has a better computer science program. If you got into, if you're interested in business and you got into both, I would choose Berkeley because Berkeley has a better business program. UCLA doesn't really have a business program. It has a business economics program. But if you got into a communications major, if you got into a biology program, if you got into like a psychology program, if you got into like, I think our geography is very highly ranked as well. But if any of those, if you have a situation like that, you have to start considering other factors. Like academics isn't the only thing that's going to make you happy at that point, right? But you have to think about weather. Weather is a factor. Like you won't consider this, right? Telling you weather is a huge factor. UCLA is always sunny and nice. Berkeley is quite gloomy in that sense, very windy and stuff. Another thing is the competitiveness of that major and how well you can score and do well in that major. I think UCLA has a lot of opportunities to like boost your grades in like I personally like they give a lot of extra credit and a lot of like research classes for you to boost your grades because they know a lot of people from their school are applying to like grad schools and med schools and stuff, so that's really important. You also have to look at like I think the prestige factor was really, really hard for me to like put aside as well because I was like putting Berkeley's prestige over my own like concerns and my own like personal wishes. Like for example, I'm going to pre-med, so I'm going to need that volunteering. I'm going to need that shadowing. I'm going to need that access to the hospital. Berkeley does not have its own hospital. It's like Associated Hospital. It has UCSF, which is like not even in the same city. You're going to have to take like train and get UCSF. But and like I was like, you know what, Berkeley is like so renowned, and I can just take the train and go whenever. Like you can't do that. Well, it's such a hassle. Like I would totally pick UCLA because they have medical school on campus, and that's where you have to like put your own like what you want and what you're looking for rather than the prestige And I think UCLA, like the overall student life at UCLA is so much better than the one at Berkeley. I think that's why it has risen up in the rankings and become the number one public university, because it uses resources in a really good way to provide us with the best student life. We have so many like cool events. We have so many. We have like the best campus. We have the best food. We have guaranteed housing for 3 years. What university guarantees you housing for 3 years? Berkeley guarantees you for 1. Berkeley's food is pretty bad. I think I'm not like trying to like look down upon Berkeley, but I'm just saying that prestige is not the only factor. You have to consider your own wishes, your own degree, your own major. And I know I spoke about that for a long time, but I hope that cleared things up.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So we also have questions regarding, do you think it's easier to get into STEM majors, particularly CS, for women compared to acceptance rates for men? So do women have a higher chance of getting into STEM majors compared to men?
So I would, they're gender blind when they're admitting people, but obviously they do have to fulfill, like they have to fill in a class. And I think maybe back then when more people were like more less women were applying to and it would have been easier. But I think now, especially with all of, you know, the feminist movements out there, and that I don't think gender plays that much of a role. I get where you're coming from in that less women are interested in computer science and engineering and all that jazz, but I don't think it'll make a significant difference. And I do think that the whole, you know, being a woman in STEM has been overdone in college applications. So yeah, you know what, they might have more spots. Say it depends, like if more, I don't really know how to answer that question because it depends how many people do apply to engineering. I think at UCLA, because I do know that, I don't know about UCLA, I don't know why I don't know about UCLA, but I know about Berkeley, more females apply to the engineering school than males. So that might be the case at UCLA as well. I just know the facts at Berkeley because my friend goes to Berkeley and she studies engineering there. But yeah, I don't think it'll make a difference, especially with the whole equality movements and stuff. But yeah, if you're a woman in STEM, that's awesome.
So I don't know if you'd be able to answer it. So we have a question saying, what is the criteria for computer science?
Yeah, I know that. Okay, so basically, and there's another question about switching to CS. I'm just gonna answer it in the same. Do you have that question? There's a question about from eco to CS.
Yeah, it's there. I just made it more general, so you can answer that too.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna talk about it right now. So basically, the criteria for computer science is quite similar to the regular admissions. It's just that computer science is obviously more competitive because you directly apply to the engineering school, whereas if you're applying for biology, economics, or any other program, you would be applying to the College of Letters and Sciences. But for engineering, you directly apply to the SAMULE School of Engineering. And so it is more competitive. Acceptance rates are lower, especially for Indian students, because a lot of people do apply from India. Like a lot of Indian students apply for engineering. Another criteria that's different is that you guys are required to take subject stats, math 2, and any science. I think I mentioned this before, but engineering students have to take 2 subject stats in math 2 and computer, and what was the other one? Any science. So yeah, then yeah, if you're admitted, for example, if you think like, you know what, I can get admitted as an eco student, but like economic student, and then switch to CS, that's also really hard because obviously the admissions are not dumb. They know that that's going to happen a lot. So like during orientation, you know what, if you want to switch majors between the College of Letters and Sciences, it's fine. But if you're going from the College of Letters and Sciences, so like eco, biology, chemistry, whatever, to engineering, it's going to be a lot harder. I think the acceptance rate is like lower than 5% switching from economics to a computer science or engineering. So yeah, it is more competitive, but yeah.
Okay. So we have a question saying, how do you develop extracurriculars in India?
Okay.
So, yeah.
So as I mentioned before, don't try to stick to the basic things. For example, don't think you have to do MUN. Don't think you have to do like, social service, volunteering, whatever. It's always nice to have those things if you're passionate about them. So when you're building extracurriculars in India, especially, like a lot of people have reached out to me and said, like, there's not a lot of research opportunities in India because professors are just not as responsive. I know a few people who have done research at IISc in Bangalore, the Indian Institute of Sciences or something. I think that's it. But yeah, and they have like connections with the professor from their like grandparents or whatever. So I think it is harder to do so in India, but you know what, you can always like apply to summer programs if you have the resources. A lot of them are free. A lot of them do have financial aid as well. So try to apply to summer programs that are competitive for like the research aspect. For other aspects, I think try to just do activities that won't like make you that basic Indian student. Like when I was talking to this is in the UCLA admissions counselor, I was talking to the USC one, and she was like, literally every student I see has written like a research paper, has started an NGO, has that, MUN, has that debate and stuff. It's just very common. And some things, like a lot of students in India think, you know what, this worked for them, so it's going to work for me. But when you're, I'm sorry, when you're developing extracurriculars, you really have to think about what your interests are and try to find resources to do so. I think there's a lot of room to improve India. So try to, find that social problem that you think a lot of people haven't covered and that you are passionate about as well. Try to find those unique things and try to intersect your interests with the activities that you're trying to pursue. If you have any like particular questions, this is kind of a broad question, but if you have any particular like specific questions to your situation and where you live, you can definitely reach out to me. Forgot to mention this, but this is like my YouTube channel link and this is my Instagram. So you can definitely like reach out to me on my Instagram, like DM me. If you don't have an Instagram, just like go to my YouTube channel and like I have my email over there, but I'll put the email in the chat as well before we leave. So yeah, just again, don't try to stick to that basic Indian student. Oh my god, I'm not so dry. Okay.
Yeah, Mansi, so I would like you to answer these two questions together.
Mm-hmm.
The first, and it's like a part question. The first one being, how do you find the college of your best friend, and how do you find which course you want to apply for in this college?
Okay, this is like a hard question, but I think your best resource is YouTube. Not gonna lie, I watched so many day in the lives, week in the lives of like a UCLA student, a USC student, a UC Berkeley student, and they're very brutally honest about their school. Like they won't try to hide the fact. If you go on the website of the school, they will try to hide, the bad qualities of their school. But on YouTube, I think it's really easy to figure out the campus culture and whether you will fit in at that campus or not. So I think that's one of the best resources. It's very general, but definitely just watch like day in the lives. Those help motivate you as well. Like when I was applying and I would lose motivation, I would like watch a day in the life of a UCLA student, for example, and be like, you know what, I want to be there and I'm gonna have to work hard. Never lose motivation, just watch those. But yeah, that's one of the best ways. Again, another thing is to just talk to students, because students will tell you the honest things about campus. Like when I was looking on the Berkeley, like I had that image of Berkeley, right? The whole prestige. I lived in the Bay Area. Every Bay Area entrepreneur was from Berkeley. But when I talked to students over there, they said that, some students are truly unhappy over there because of the competitiveness. And I'm not trying to like shy you guys away from Berkeley, but personally it just wasn't a good fit for me because I was applying to med school in the future and I needed that, I needed that happy campus future. I mean, I needed that happy campus, that lively atmosphere. And because med school is hard in itself, and so I wanted that undergrad experience. And so they're very, very open about their school, and they will tell you the bad things and the good things. So I think the best way is to just talk to current students, watch their YouTube videos, maybe reach out to them, and best fit. Another thing is just reflecting on what you want in a school. Like, it took me so long to figure out that I wanted that, it took me so long to like put aside academics. Like, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna pick the best school that's the best for my major. But you can't do that, because you will be unhappy at that school, because that school might not be the best fit for you. So you really have to put academics aside and try to figure out what you want in a school, and talk to current students and see if that matches. If you have any like specific questions and want to be connected to a student at a certain school, definitely reach out to me. I know a lot of people at a lot of schools, and not to brag or anything, but like my class, like my graduating class went like all around the US. So we have a lot of people from different colleges and like the top colleges. So yeah. And then the second question was the courses, right? So I think a lot of people reach out to me and say, like, is it easier to, like, for example, a school is really good for business. Is it easier to apply to like a random major, like, literature, and get into that school and then switch to business? Like, I think that's like dumb, because your activities would relate to your major, like your major of interest. So if your activities are very economics related, very business related, and you're applying for literature, like, you're not going to get in, because those people see that, you're interested in business and economics, so you would naturally apply to business and economics, or some kind of variation of that. And so I think it's really important to not look for that back door of just getting into the school. But yeah, otherwise, I think look at what the school is good at. Like, for example, if you are applying to UCLA, UCLA is really good for biology, the biological sciences, chemistry, psychology, economics is pretty highly ranked as well. And so if you're interested in those things, definitely apply to the things the school is good at, because then you would receive a better education in that regard. I do think that there are some strategies. For example, in terms of Berkeley and the computer science thing, there's like two, if you guys are interested in computer science, sorry if I'm getting too specific, but there's two majors: computer science, normal, College of Letters and Sciences. Then there's another one, electrical engineering and computer science. So that's one you directly apply into, but the acceptance rate for that program is like less than 3%. And the acceptance rate for the computer science one in the College of Letters and Sciences is much higher. So if you think that you can get into the electrical engineering and computer science one, the one with the lower acceptance rate, then go for it. But if you don't think you have that much of a strong profile, then definitely go the computer science, the College Letters of Sciences route, because that will get you into the school. And Berkeley computer science, regardless of whether it's electrical engineering, computer science, or regular computer science, will get you to a good job. So you have to like really research about the school and figure out what I want, what I'm interested in, and what the school is good at. But yeah.
So I have a question by Rohit. And Rohit says that IIT JEE takes a lot of time. And how does one prepare for abroad universities while still preparing for JEE? What extracurriculars can you do that create a high impact but consume less time?
Right. So that's like that's a very good question, and I think no extracurricular takes less time than the other. I do think that if you're passionate about the extracurricular, then it'll take less effort, because you'll have fun while doing it and stuff. So I think if you are preparing for the IIT and JEE, maybe doing like research in the studying for already. Research is a very high impact activity these days, and it doesn't take less time. It obviously takes a long time to write a research paper. Like, it will take a good solid year, but if it will work in tandem to your IIT studies, and so I think that will work out. Maybe another thing you can do is tutoring. since you are studying the material yourself, and you can use like active recall. If you guys haven't heard of that, it's like a study method where you actively recall the things you're studying. So that'll help you study, and as well as like, have an activity to your list and help others out with IIT or normal physics tuitions, chemistry tuitions, math tuitions, whatever. But yeah, that's the only two ones I can think off the top of my head. If you have any like specific questions, you can reach out to me. But yeah.
So another question, and I think we might have addressed it, but are UCLA and UC Berkeley still considered safety schools?
Oh no. I wouldn't like say that. Who said that ever? Okay, growing up, like I thought UCLA and UC Berkeley were like IVs when I was like 4 years old. But I don't think they're safety schools at all. Safety schools are let's start by defining a safety school. I'm sorry, I'm not taking offense or anything, but like let's start by defining safety schools. Safety schools are like schools with like above 40% acceptance rate, first, number one. Then their schools with their median SAT score. So basically every school releases like a common data set, and in that they have their median GPA, their median SAT. So if their median GPA is like a 3.0 and their median SAT is like in the 1300s or 1200s, I would say it's a safety school. So I think those are the two criterias of being a safety school. And UCLA and UC Berkeley have like acceptance rates of like 12, 11%. So no, and their median SAT scores, I would say the median SAT score of UCLA is around 1540 or 1540, I think, last I checked. UC Berkeley would be around the same. UCLA does have a lower acceptance rate than Berkeley because they receive more applications. But yeah, no, I don't think they're safety schools.
Yeah. I hope that addressed your concern. So we have another question. Were you dead set on going for college, or did you keep your options open? And how much of a disadvantage do you think your grades put you at?
Oh wait, could you repeat the first question?
Were you dead set on going to the US for college?
Oh, okay.
Or did you have any other options open?
Yeah, so I'm a US citizen, so it just made sense for me to apply to the US, and that was my only option because my parents are eventually going to move back to the US, so that was the only thing I was considering. Maybe if I wasn't a US citizen, I would consider other places. Secondly, so yeah, actually I really want to talk about this. So basically, I got a 36 on 42 in 11th grade, and 11th grade finals are supposed to be considered like your most important exam and grades and stuff, because that's the last full year the colleges see, right? And so I was like dead set on getting a 38. I was like, if I want to get into the schools I want to get into, I have to get a 38. And when I didn't get a 38, I was fully depressed. Like I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna get into any school. And I was like lying on my bed depressed every 5 seconds over the summer. And like at that time, I definitely thought that my grades put me at a disadvantage to others. But now looking back, I don't think at all, because I really, really improved my score. My predicted grade was like a 42 on 45 for IB, which is like considered for all the, like it's really good for the top schools. And I think the colleges really, really saw my improvement and how much I struggled in 9th grade, but I still managed to improve my grades throughout high school. So if you have that upward trend, it won't matter. Like if you have a great upward trend, a solid upward trend that's, constantly increasing, then you're at a good position. If you guys like want IGCSE, CBSE, or IB grade converted to GPA, because I know a lot of people like, especially on the college's websites, when you're comparing your scores to the college's like released data sets, they only release the GPAs, right? So it's really important to know where you stand. So I have that somewhere. So I will definitely send that to you if you guys want that. You can like reach out to me or something. But yeah, that's something. Yeah, I think if you just have an upward trend, which I did, you'll be good. I don't think they put me at a disadvantage. Because I wanted to go to UCLA, UC Berkeley, and I got in. So I don't think it really affected anything.
Thank you. So we have like two questions that are like similar, one by Rohan and another by Cousin. So how do you find internships and how did you choose the ones that really suit you the best? Moreover, what were the personal connect like? Did you use personal connections to get the internships at the hospitals and clinics? And were the internships just shadowing doctors?
Right. Okay, yeah. So just remind me of the first question. I lost you. Sorry.
To find the internship? I mean, what are the resources like? Did you use personal connections to get these internships, or did you use any other online resources?
Right, right. So the thing I remember actually the first question was how do you find the internships that best suit you? So I think a lot of people think internships are just like a slap on your application, but I think internships are a great way to see if you would actually flourish in that career in the future. They're very, very important for your pre-professional growth. So personally, the first internship I did was at a clinic, and no, I didn't get it from personal connections. There was actually an application where I had to write like a good long essay about why I wanted to pursue that internship. So I found it online and I applied. But yeah, so in that internship, initially I was shadowing doctors. It was, not gonna lie, very boring, and like I couldn't do anything. I was just sitting there and watching them like treat patients, and I turned that internship into something more. Basically, that clinic is a telemedicine clinic, and basically what they do is they provide so basically if you guys don't know what telemedicine is, it basically like the doctor's like a main city and then the patients are in rural areas. So basically you set up clinics in like rural areas and the doctors can talk to them through telemedicine. And so what I did was I actually went on like a few mission trips with the doctors to set up telemedicine clinics in areas. And no one provided me that. I was really bored at the initial internship. The initial internship was just shadowing doctors and I was really bored. And so that's where the whole public health aspect as well came in. And I was like, you know what, I want to do more and make an actual impact, because shadowing doctors I'm not doing anything, right? It's not a waste of my time, but it's not using my time most efficiently. And so that's what I did in one of the internships. Other internship was really cool because I got to observe surgeries. I got to go in the OR and observe a cardiac surgery and a cesarean section. So I got to like see the birth of a child. It was awesome. But yeah, that was really cool. And then the other one was, it was again, just me volunteering at the hospital. But like it was labeled as an internship. But basically what I did was I shadowed the doctor and I also like attended to the patients, and I went during Diwali. So I sang them Diwali songs, I decorated the place, and it was just a nice fun way to, get that clinical experience, but also do something that I enjoyed. So yeah, I would obviously try to use your personal connections if you have any. Personally, I don't know any doctors. I don't know any people in the healthcare field. Like no one in my family is in the healthcare field. So I just tried to find internships online. I tried to talk to my seniors, what they did, like people who are applying to pre-med, what they did. You can definitely reach out to me. I know some internships in Bangalore if you guys live in Bangalore and are interested in the health career. But yeah, I don't think I use my personal connections anywhere. Yeah, just try to look for opening positions, maybe like on LinkedIn if they have anything. I personally didn't have a LinkedIn back then, but like I'm making one like recently. I made one in quarantine and I realized that LinkedIn is actually really helpful. So if you maybe like look in the job openings and stuff at LinkedIn, you could try to find something. But yeah.
So Mansi, how do you know so much about these universities? Like for example, how Berkeley gives limited aids.
Yeah, so that's just all my research, to be honest. Like I was lucky enough to have quarantine and being stuck at home to research all my colleges. So basically, I started getting into colleges like in the beginning of March, because that's when everyone starts getting in. And that's literally when quarantine started, like the whole lockdown thing. So I would literally sit every single day, like put something random on TV and start researching. So I had this like Excel sheet called my college confusion list, where I would like list all my colleges, then I would have like some sort of certain factors, like, what my like the campus culture, the social life, the competitiveness, the ability to do well and have a high GPA. And I would like sit every day and try to figure out like how each school fares in each category. And so that's where I started. And finance was obviously my first one. So like, as I mentioned before, like CMU was out because finance, location, those are one of my two main things besides academics. And I already knew that all the schools I got into were great in the academics realm. And so I had to start looking at that point. When you get into the schools, you have to start looking beyond academics and what you want and if the school can provide that to you. So yeah, if I think it is really hard to do research, like it's really hard to find that, like that very niche research that applies to you. But yeah, doing research on like these schools, I have like a good foundation on what a person should search for when like building a school list and deciding which school to go to. So like in the future, I will make a YouTube video on this. If you guys are interested, you can stay tuned and subscribe and stuff. But for now, I would say that definitely like when you're apply to schools. Don't like randomly apply just because they're like prestigious and stuff. Get a basic understanding of the campus culture and whether you would even want to go there. Like I applied to UMich without knowing that I don't even want to go there. Like I simply applied because I was like, it's good for pre-med, might as well. But I didn't want to go there. And like I realized that later when like I was put on the wait list and I was like, I don't even want to join the wait list because I don't want to go there. And so I simply applied. I wasted like $70 on that application and stuff. So try to like do some basic research on whether you would even want to go to school there. Try to figure out the campus culture, talk to current students at the university. That's the best research. Watch those day in the life videos. And yeah.
So did you get any scholarships from any of these colleges?
So I got like very, very basic scholarships, like very low scholarship, like little scholarships from some of these schools. I got like a good amount from Rutgers. I got a small amount from USC, but not like the half tuition or full tuition. If you guys don't know, USC has like a full tuition scholarship and a half tuition scholarship for like very high achievers. And I didn't get that. I got like a very basic scholarship, like something around like 15K or something. But yeah, so I got that. And then Rutgers gave me like a good like half tuition type, but I didn't want to go to Rutgers. What else? Oh, UW, University of Washington, in Seattle, gave me a really good scholarship, and I got in the honors program for that. So I was really considering that school. But then UCLA came along, and I was like, you know what, I'd rather stay in California. But I think UCLA, especially if you're an international student, UCLA, Berkeley, all those UC schools, they don't provide good scholarships for international students. Actually, I don't think they have any scholarships for international students because they are big public universities and stuff like that. But I will say this, I haven't even started, like my first quarter was my summer quarter, but my legit UCLA quarter starts in a week. And I've already like received a few scholarships like from UCLA for research and other stuff like that. So once you get on campus, you can find a ton of opportunities and tons of resources for scholarships. So I don't think that's like a huge, that's like actually it depends on the person, but like with in-state tuition and like I knew UCLA would provide me opportunities for scholarships once I got in and I started attending. So that wasn't a huge factor for me, but yeah.
So I know you covered this a lot, Mansi, but are there any online resources that you'd like to talk about that really you?
Yeah. Like I wrote a college essay about this, but videos helped me so much. YouTube is the best resource. Like if you want any sort of college admissions advice, this is like the reason I started my YouTube channel, but YouTube is like such a good resource. If you type in anything, like how to fill out the Common App and how Common App activity section, you will find it on YouTube and you will find amazing advice. So just like try to figure that out. And like some of my favorite I don't have like a list on the top of my head, but like there's some YouTubers I watched so much when I was applying. So yeah, YouTube is not just like a pastime thing. It's so informative. Another one is Super Tutor TV. If you guys don't know, they have like very, very informative videos on how people got into some of the top schools. Another one is Crimson Education. It's like they have a website, they have a YouTube channel. Super Tutor TV also has a website and a YouTube channel. What is another one? Prep Scholar, best thing ever. They have the best blogs about like how to get into each and every school, and each and every school they've given like so much in-depth information. Jesus Christ, like God, like they're like angels. I love them, but they have like the best resources. Trying to think of some. I have like links in my YouTube channel, but I can't remember them off the top of my head. But yeah, if you want any more resources, you can reach out to me. I'll try to remember them.
So how important is, did you have an external counselor, and how important is one in the entire college admissions process?
Yeah, so I had an admissions counselor, and to be honest, like she like I don't know, like I didn't really benefit from it that much. Like people overhype them so much. Like they also advertise it wrong. Like obviously they're gonna advertise it much more than they are, but they state that they're gonna, help you build a profile and help you like build that application spike. But some of them are a big ripoff, and they only help you with your essays because that's all they know how to do, essay editing. And so I don't think they're important at all. I think I would have gotten into the same schools with and without their help. And I think like especially like if you are at like a lower like socioeconomic status, like you don't need to invest in that, especially like since US is so expensive. Colleges are really expensive. I think like try to reach out to people like me and Sarthak and incoming freshmen, because most of the people at these high-end like admissions like counselors or whatever, the admissions, what are they called? External counselors. Yeah, they have like a team full of like undergraduates and graduates at the top schools. So they're literally us, and they are literally just like people who have gone through the application process and helping other people get in with their own experiences. So I think it's definitely not required. Like try to reach out, try to make connections with freshmen, incoming freshmen, especially at universities that you want to get into, because they will have relatively more time because stuff isn't that hard in freshman year, especially now because they're stuck at home, most of them. But yeah, I think that's your best resource. I don't think it's required at all. In hindsight, I would not have gotten an external counselor. Yeah.
So did you put awards and competitions in the extracurricular section?
So that depends on, actually no, it's separate. In the Common App and the UC application, they have, so in the Common App, they have, in the Common App, they have like a separate award section, and then they have a separate activity section. And then in the UC application, they give you like some 25 like things to add. And in each thing, you have to give like a category. So each, so like, for example, for Mission Seva, I would put like extracurricular activity. But for like my, the investment competition and the national award we won, I would put it under award. Or like the PSAT award I won, I would, or the PSAT award, the letter of commendation I think I received, I would put that under award. So like they have different categories, and that's clearly defined. So you will find that.
So do you think applying as undeclared puts you at advantage?
I'm glad you didn't say advantage, because a lot of people think that if you apply as undeclared, it's an advantage. So this was like a huge thing at my school. One girl, she applied to computer science everywhere else, but at Berkeley she applied as an undeclared, and so she got it. And everyone's like, you know what? If you apply under undeclared, you're gonna get in. Like it's the surefire way. But no, they want. If you have a clear, like, if you have a reason as to why you're undeclared, like, for example, you know what, I'm interested in too many things. I will explore my interests, my passions, my activities in college, and then decide. That's completely fine. But if you have, like, a clear thing in your application, like your college application stating that, you know what, I built an app, or I did, like, a computer science internship, Like, why aren't you applying for computer science? Like, I don't understand. And the admissions counselors also will not understand that. So I think in that case, it will be a disadvantage. But if you have a clear reason as to why you're undeclared, it's definitely not a disadvantage. You're good.
Okay. This is a question. Do you have do you intend to do a part-time job when you move back to LA? Like, are you thinking of doing an on-campus or like a part-time job?
Yeah. So this is very. I don't know. Like, okay. Actually, when I was little, I always wanted to work a job. I'm gonna do fun. Like, not even earn any money. I just want to work at job produce and get discounts on smoothies. But other than to a work study thing, you know, maybe do a maybe like volunteer. Oh, one thing I really want to do is like on campus jobs where they have like in the admissions center or whatever. So basically you give tours as like a tour guide at UCLA, and that's paid, and that's something I really want to do. So, and that's like a student job, like it's an on-campus job. So you work at the admissions office. So that's something I want to do because I'm really interested in the whole college admissions realm thing. So I would love to give tours. And they have this thing called Bruin Cubs where you give tours to like elementary school kids, and I love kids, so I definitely want to do that. But yeah, we'll see what comes up. And he does have to stay in India, and we have to pay like international and out-of-state tuition. Then I'll see. I think it'll work itself out. I think I'll have to like definitely stay updated on my YouTube channel. I might inform you.
So now that the SAT is off, in fact, a lot of students have been voicing these concerns.
Mm-hmm.
Now that the SAT is optional, is it better to not report it if you get a mediocre score?
So let's talk about the whole optional thing. So optional, when they're talking about optional, they really mean if you don't have the resources, then you don't have to report it. Like if you have like if you're financially unstable, if your socioeconomic status is quite low, then by all means do not report the SAT, because why would you pay that extra money? But if you do have the resources and your family income is quite high, they know all this, by the way, from FAFSA and CSS, then you definitely, I wouldn't say definitely, but it would sort of be shied upon not to submit it just because you have a mediocre score, because they know they sort of know you took it, like they just know. And I'll give you like a personal circumstance. Like I was applying to Duke, and Duke said that the subject stats were optional. So I was like, you know what? I don't even have to like, if I get a good score, I'll submit. If I don't, I don't. It's fine. But like later I realized that it was basically required, especially for a person like me who isn't suffering from any extenuating financial circumstance. So what I think, I'm not sure about this, I'm not an admissions counselor, but what I think when they say optional is for people who like have been severely affected by the COVID pandemic, and who cannot afford to take it and do not have the resources to study and stuff. But yeah, if you do have the resources, I would still report it, because
What are your recommendations on universities for taking science subject with a subject like econ business?
Oh, okay, like an interest.
And yeah.
Yeah, so I think nowadays everyone is adapting to that very interdisciplinary mindset. Try to just find schools that are good in both realms, economics and sciences. UCLA, Berkeley. Some schools might be better in one area than the other, so you might have to prioritize that. For example, UCLA is better in the sciences than economics, and my primary interest is sciences and pre-med, so I sacrificed that, little lower ranking in economics for the amazing program of the sciences and biological sciences. But yeah, I think just try to see if they have that whole, interdisciplinary mindset, because a lot of schools do, but a lot of schools also don't, and they don't really promote that idea of, exploring your interests within different fields. So yeah.
So if suppose anyone's in the IT curriculum, and suppose they're applying for their major, So should they take a high-level subject that is the same as their major, which might probably increase their chances of getting in?
So so this varies according to the thing. I personally think if you are applying for a major like biology or chemistry or economics, you would take it on a higher level because you are interested in the subject, right? But also, moreover, I don't like, aside from the whole admissions process, when you get into the university, having that higher level subject and that higher level knowledge will help you so much. I recently took biology at UCLA, and my IB, like the foundation IB provided me was so helpful. I struggled, but I didn't struggle as much as some of my peers. And so it makes it very easy, that transition, it makes the transition easier. I don't think acceptance wise it's a huge deal. I think it is in the UK. I know like one of my friends, she was applying to for economics, and she didn't take math at a higher level. And so that that didn't allow, like some UK universities didn't allow her to apply. Like they were like, you know what, you need higher level economics and math. But the US universities don't have that type of restriction. And so, yeah, I think you would just take it because you're interested in it. And it would help you in the future. But I don't think it'll increase or decrease your chances of applying as long as you build a nice story around it.
So if a student is excelling in sports, music, and dance, is there an advantage and preference by these colleges you spoke about?
Sports, music, dance, or stuff like that. If you are applying for a dance, sports, music major or something like that, you like, that's amazing. Like if you're showing direct interest in the major you're applying for. But like otherwise, like having that activity and that being like your passion, like if you're interested in like physics but you're really really good at like fencing, for example, like that's a really cool extracurricular activity, and that's just like a cool thing to have on your application. I don't think like it'll definitely help you if you're like awesome at it, but like don't think about it in that way. Like obviously do it because you like it, and it'll definitely help you if you're excelling at anything. If it's anything, sports, music, dance, any academic stuff, any non-academic stuff, if you're excelling at that thing, it will help you in your admissions process. All I'm saying is don't look at it in that way, obviously, because you're doing things because you like them, not just for college.
So is a full ride available in UCLA and other public universities in different states like California and Texas?
It definitely is, if you're a US citizen, not for international students. So UCLA has this thing called the Regents Scholarship, where they basically give like a full ride. I think one of my friend's brother goes to like UT Dallas, the University of Texas at Dallas. He has a full ride there. So I think you just need to be a US citizen, especially for public universities. I don't think that's the case for private universities. Like USC gives full tuition scholarships to international students as well. But yeah, for public universities, you do need to be a US citizen in order to be eligible for the full rides.
Okay, can you tell us Can you tell us about summer schools? What do they really offer? Is it really worth it? Yeah.
So it depends. School, like program, like some summer programs are not competitive at all. Like you just apply and you get in, and those are not worth it at all because you're paying a lot of money and they're not that well recognized by universities. But if they're like highly selective programs, then they're like really, like, they're very good. Like I know Boston University has this program called RISE, which is a science research program internship thing. I don't know what it's called, but like it's labeled as a summer program, and it's very very selective, super selective. And those type of programs, those type of summer programs are really really well looked upon from admissions officers, and admissions officers know which ones are selective, which ones aren't. So definitely try to look at the fact that they have an application. First of all, if they don't have an application, then don't even go, because that means they're not the program and where they've gotten. Most summer programs that are selective have like, oh yeah, our alumni went here, our alumni went there. So yeah, try to look for those selective ones, because those are the ones that are going to help you in terms of admissions.
Sorry, sorry to interrupt. We have around 6 minutes left because this session is going to end in that much time. So let's
Okay.
get as many questions in as possible.
Okay, so Mansi, it would be great if you could give like 1 or 2 liner answers. So
Yeah.
it'll be somewhat of a rapid fire if you don't mind. Yeah. So if you are sure that you will achieve more after the November 1st deadline for ED, is it better to apply in Jan?
So okay, so basically, if you get, it depends. If you get in, then great. If you get deferred, you can always like show, like, if you can always email them and say, you know, I have updates to my application, then blah, blah, blah. But if you seriously think that you're gonna have a cool achievement afterwards, then just apply in January. The only advantage of an ED is that you tell them it's your first choice, and that's like a huge advantage. So it depends. You have to prioritize and figure out how big that achievement is and how like much is going to help in the application process. But yeah, if you get deferred, you can always update them.
Okay. When is the most appropriate time to access a counselor before applying?
Sorry, repeat that.
When is the most appropriate time to access a counselor, an external counselor,
Okay.
before applying?
So it depends. Again, in my opinion, an external counselor only helps you with your essays. So maybe they claim to help you with your extracurricular activities and building your spike. But from all the experience I've had and my peers have had, no one helps you with that unless you have like a really awesome external counselor from somewhere. But all the people I've talked to don't help with that. So I think for that extra year, most people get it, but I'd recommend you get it in after your 11th grade when you're starting to write your essays, because that's what they mainly help with.
Okay, and would you put the finalist of squash state championship under awards?
Okay. Let me think about that.
Yes or no?
I guess yes. Unless you like haven't, I don't know, it depends. I think yes, for now. If you want to talk more about it, just contact me separately.
Okay.
New one.
And what is the different, so apart from Common App and Coalition, are there any other portals?
The UC app has its own portal. It's called the University of California application. It has 4 essays, you have to fill out all your information again, but yeah.
Okay. And can we apply a year earlier in the 11th grade or feel like in colleges?
You have to fulfill a set of requirements. So all colleges require you to have a certain amount of classes, and if you have completed those amount of classes in your 3 years of high school, then yeah, by all means go for it. But if you haven't, then you can't do that. They have a set of requirements which are on their website, so just go search it
up. Yeah. Apart from academics, if you were to describe the UCLA students in 5 words, 3 to 5 words, what would it be?
Okay. So the phrase we use is work hard, play hard, and that's 4 words already, but that's a phrase we use because we study and we have a lot of academic programs and stuff. But everyone after every football game event and stuff, you'll find them in the library the next day. We're very well-rounded, I would say. So well-rounded is one. Another one is studious. I would not say competitive, I'd say collaborative. I wish I had time to talk about this, but in my recent quarter, you can go watch my YouTube video about this. I had a week in the life thing, but in that I talk about how collaborative we were in my recent summer quarter at UCLA. So collaborative, well-rounded, athletic. I think everyone who's gone to UCLA has some sort of athletic activity thing. And then passionate. We all have that, spike and to our application that's helped us stand out. And then another one is just welcoming. Everyone in the UCLA community is so welcoming, and they just want to help everyone else, and they're not competitive at all. I know this relates to collaborative, but I just feel so welcome to the community, even though I'm not even on campus. But yeah.
When did you start writing your essay? Just tell us.
Just like after 11th grade ends. Sorry.
Okay. And are APs helpful?
I wouldn't, if you're taking, like, if you're in the CBSE curriculum and if you are applying for economics and say like you are applying for a thing and your school doesn't like have that subject, then I would recommend you take a AP in that AP exam in that. But if you're applying for economics and you're already taking economics at your school, you're applying for biology, you're already taking biology at your school, don't take APs.
Okay. So that's it for most of the questions. We have like one last question. So someone's midterm cancelled. Which transcript do you send in for an ED?
Wait, your voice cut out. Sorry, what?
So if someone's midterms are cancelled, which transcript do you send for your early decision?
Oh, for 12th grade. Yeah, I think you would have to email your regional admissions counselor and ask them what to do in that situation, because yeah, you would not, I can't think of any alternative unless you have like a unit test or something. But yeah, that's all dependent on your cert situation. So definitely email your regional admissions counselor.
Okay, so that's it for today. We are done. We have finished all our questions. Thanks a lot to all the participants for attending this session. Thanks a lot, Mansi, for sparing your time. And educating.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who came out and stayed till the end. I did say I was gonna put like my email in the chat, so I'm just gonna put that before all of you guys.
You can share it with me and I'll send it on the group.
Okay, yeah, great.
Yeah.
And do check out Mansi's YouTube channel. It's really helpful. And hopefully in the next 4 years she can be a very and a useful resource to many of the incoming students.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm just gonna put it in this one as well, and then I put my, just if you guys want any help. Yeah, okay, so I put all my social thingies on that, so definitely since we had less time on this, you guys can like email personal questions or reach out to me on Instagram or my comment section or something. But yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, and everyone on the session, we will be having a lot of successive college sessions too. When we get other students from colleges like Wharton, Harvard, and UC Berkeley. So please tune in. And yeah, if you're part of the group, look for the updates. And if you want the link to the group, do let me know. Okay, thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you, Mansi, again. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mansi. All the best.